If you had the ability to curate your life how you want it, what would it look like? If you had the ability to be selfishly intentional with every decision and choice that you were making in your life, what would that look like? Hello, beautiful people. Tap here. Um, if you've been here before, thank you for coming back to hang out with me. Conversation with Tap. I'm on the chair that I've been so anxiously preparing myself to be back on. I am just reflecting on the day. And as I watched my last couple videos and past streams that I've done on twitch.tv, I started to really think about what am I saying, what am I building, and my purpose and my why. You know, when I talk about my why a lot, I know what my why is, I know what my purpose is, but how do you actually execute? And how do I shift from how I've been and where I am and where I want to be and being intentional about it? So I mentioned in previous videos now, and I've been posting it all over my Instagram. If you're not doing so, please feel free to give me a follow there. I will put the link down below in the description box. TaptheSoul, easy to find. And I've been posting there, and pretty much everything that I've posted lately, I've been posting with the ending slide or screen, noting a curated life and being selfishly intentional. I spoke about it a little bit in my last video, and I'll drop a card up here and I'll put it also in the description below. And it's really to just remind myself, sorry, to remind myself, but also to encourage anybody who's listening to make a shift if they feel they want to and they need to make the shift, right? This isn't about forcing anybody to do anything that they don't want to do, but I really want to instigate and stimulate thoughts. And hopefully it will inspire you and it will motivate you and it will nurture you to focus on yourself, because that is really what this is all about when I talk about my wellness journey / my wellness lifestyle. For me, when I say a curated life, what does that mean? When I say selfishly intentional, what does that mean? How am I applying that to my everyday life? And it's a journey, right? This is not and you know, I've said it before, it's not a 21-step program. I check a couple of boxes, I get a star beside my name, and then I go skipping through snow, which has started here in Alberta today, and life is golden. That's not it at all. It is an ongoing process, which is why I'm making sure that I identify that my wellness journey is my lifestyle. It is everything that is inclusive. But when I start getting back into, you know, a curated life, what does it mean? And a selfishly intentional, what does that mean? I decided to Google. Gotta trust Google, right? So, definitions: curated, carefully chosen, and thoughtfully organized. Life. Now, I wasn't going to Google the definition of life, but it's pretty self explanatory, but it just made sense to also capture that. So, life, the definition according to the Cambridge Dictionary: the period between birth and death, or the experience or state of being alive. Simple, right? Let's switch over to selfishly intentional. So, selfishly intentional, concerned excessively or exclusively with oneself. It sounds kind of negative, doesn't it? But really, it's not. Intentional, done on purpose, making deliberate choices to reflect what is most important. So, putting all of that together, a curated life, selfishly intentional, carefully chosen and thoughtfully organized, experience or state of being, or carefully chosen and thoughtfully organized period between birth and death. Yeah, right? So selfishly intentional, let's try that one. Concerned excessively or exclusively with oneself, making deliberate choices to reflect what is most important. When you put the two words together, selfishly suddenly doesn't have such a negative connotation associated with it. I've been a floater, right? Like I've made choices and I've dealt with consequences. I've had good moments, I've had bad moments. Again, I'm not like we've all had it and we've all gone through it. But there's a lot of decisions that I have made in my life and there's a lot of choices that I've accepted that I'm going to say was influenced by the situation at the time, whether it's people, places, or spaces, right? It wasn't necessarily that I sat down and looked at the situation and made a sound decision. I have done some of those, but the general course of my life, like even thinking about my career, I have a successful career. I'm really happy with what I'm doing. I've been doing it for over 25, 26 years now, give or take, right? I didn't sit down one day and say, this is the path I wanted. It kind of landed in my direction. I did a sniff test, seemed like it's something that I wanted to pursue. And then I just went along with the flow of my career. Now, I made choices of where I did or didn't want to work. And a lot of my choices were specific companies that I wanted to work at, but also it was the people and it was the opportunity. It was not always about the paycheck. Is that a bad thing? No, I would say it's not a bad thing. Did I need more money at time to time to support my family? I absolutely did. But I knew that being patient and having opportunities that would give me better experience to build my toolbox would put me in a better position as I navigated my career, even though I was floating through it. I have not, even to now, I haven't necessarily mapped out what does the rest of my career journey look like. I just know what I don't want it to look like. And that is how I'm curating my life. So I don't have it all figured out, but I'm really, really clear now of what I don't want to do, of where I don't want to work. And one of the things for me was I don't want to be dealing with time zones anymore. So I used to always be in a position where I was dealing with other parts of the world. So I was always on, always connected. And I loved it and I thrived in it until I couldn't do it anymore. And I really, really just started to realize that I wanted to slow down, not slow down to stop, but I wanted to slow down and smell the roses, the flowers, so to speak. So curating my life and continuously refining and curating my life is allowing me the opportunity to do so. And that's what I want to encourage you as I'm talking and I'm sharing. I really want to encourage you to stop and take a moment and just ask yourself, if you were to sit down and intentionally curate your life, what would it look like? Dream a little. Take a moment, close your eyes, or grab a pen and paper. Drop a comment below if you want to drop it. I'm more than happy to hear it. I'd love to hear other people's stories and thoughts about if they were able to make selfishly intentional decisions, not to hurt anybody, but just to really spoil yourself, treat yourself, love yourself, and define a life that really and truly resonates with you. What would that look like? As you're thinking about that, is it possible to achieve? What's preventing you from doing so? People say it all the time, right? Lean into this, lean into that. I like to tell people to leap. Sometimes I need people to tell me to leap or just shove me off the cliff, right? I get caught up in fear. I get caught up in anxiety or nerves or unsurety or imposter syndrome. And some of the things I probably would have done throughout my lifetime, I haven't done it for many, many reasons. I just floated and I made memories and I made moments, and I'm not sitting with any form of regret whatsoever. However, I want to be intentional now about what I want and why I want it, even if it makes other people unhappy. Again, this is not about hurting other people. This is really about making sure that you are loving yourself, you're being happy with yourself. So many of us get caught up in our story, right? I can tell you my story. You will hear my story as I share these conversations with you. But I don't want to just stay in the stories of the past. I want to continue making chapters. I want to continue making paragraphs. I want to continue making novels in regards to my story. I want to live. And when you look at the definition of life, the period between birth and death, or the experience or state of being alive. I want to be alive. I have been in bubbles. I have been in depression corners or walking depression, hiding things behind my smile. And I don't want to do that anymore. If I don't feel okay, I want to feel that I'm in a safe space wherever I am to acknowledge I'm not feeling okay today. But that's okay because I can always try again later or I can always try again tomorrow. And we need to allow ourselves to be in those type of positions. We cannot be smiling and giddy all the time. We can if that's what life is affording you, but if it's not, then it's okay to not be smiling and hiding behind that smile what's really going on deep down inside. So, a curated life, selfishly intentional. It doesn't mean it's pretty. It really doesn't mean it's pretty. I am just starting to really, really sit down and reflect on my life and uncover some things that have been sitting in a closet dusty. Things you don't want to talk about, things you don't want to face, things you're not ready to face, things you didn't even remember that you had tucked away. And then it pops up and says, hi. And then you have to figure out, how do I deal with it? So I'm still navigating my way, and I will continuously be navigating my way. But I also know that I'm being intentional. I'm being aware. And no, don't have it figured out, but I'm open to figuring it out. I am open to figuring it out, even if it's hard. And there will be some moments where I'm going to need to lean on some people to help me through. But more importantly, I need to figure out how to lean on myself. If it's one thing that I have definitely learned is that you can get into a sense of dependency on people, places, and spaces, and then you realize that they are not able to support you because they're not even able to support themselves. And it's okay, but you need to make sure that you are able to be self sufficient, even if you do have a body of people, places, and spaces that can support you throughout your journey, whatever your journey is, right? So, a curated life. Carefully chosen and thoughtfully organized period between life, between birth and death, right? Or the experience or state of being alive. So, carefully chosen and thoughtfully organized experiences or state of being alive. And that's really just putting a couple of Google definitions together. Listen to the opportunity that is sitting there that affords us if we take a moment to really sit down and figure out, if we were to curate our life, what would that look like? And being selfishly intentional, right? The definitions, once again, selfishly, concerned excessively or exclusively with oneself, intentional, done on purpose, deliberate, making deliberate choices to reflect what is most important. Again, I'm going to throw those together, right? Concerned excessively or exclusively with oneself, making deliberate choices to reflect what is most important. Being a floater, sticking to a story, whether it's the good part of the story or the bad part of the story, not growing, not figuring out what it is that you want for your life. And again, it doesn't matter how old or how young you are. You don't have to have the 5-year plan. That's not what this is about. This is just about being aware of the moment that you're in. And if it's where you want to be, great. And if it's not where you want to be, what are you going to do about it? You can't blame outside forces if you do not make an attempt to take care of yourself by making intentional choices specifically for you. It's not about hurting people. It's really about loving yourself more than maybe some of the people around you. And I know that that's what I'm learning to work on as well. I have given love unquestionably, and I don't want to stop giving love, but I want to love on myself as much as I've been loving on other people throughout the past phases of my life. So, a curated life, being selfishly intentional, is what I will remind myself repeatedly until I need to shift and pivot to something else as I continue to build my wellness journey and curate my wellness lifestyle to keep me whole, help me heal, nurture my growth, inspire me, and inspire others around me. As I get ready to tap out here, take a moment and just ask yourself, if you had the ability to curate your life how you want it, what would it look like? If you had the ability to be selfishly intentional with every decision and choice that you were making in your life, what would that look like? Is it really that impossible? Is it maybe a small thing, not a big thing? Or maybe it's a big thing and you're just needing that nudge to leap? This is your nudge to leap. A curated life, you deserve it. Being selfishly intentional, that's self-care. That's what we all talk about, right? We all talk about self-care. Be selfishly intentional with taking care of yourself, your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul, emotionally, holistically, whatever that needs to look like for you. In my last video, I talked about what wellness looks like for me, and it does look really different for me than probably what it would look like for you. But that's my journey and that's my lifestyle. So you need to sit down and figure out, what does your journey and what does your lifestyle look like, if it will bring you all of the pieces that would make you happy, that would make you whole, that would bring you joy, that would give you peace, that would nurture love. A curated life, selfishly intentional. Why not? Peace, love, and blessings.